Bore da, good morning. I'm Sophie Howe and I'm the Future Generations Commissioner for Wales. So Wales is a small but progressive nation, much the same as Scotland. We are, however, the only country in the world to have legislated to protect the interests of future generations through our groundbreaking Wellbeing of Future Generations Act. And we're the only country to have appointed someone independent, me, to oversee the implementation of that act. Why do we need this? Well, for too long, we've derived short-term decision-making, short-term metrics to measure performance of our government. And that has impacted on the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. We only have to look at the climate catastrophe that we're heading towards to understand how current policymakers and those policymakers of the past have not taken the decisions that need to be taken to protect the interests of future generations. So our law requires all of our public institutions, all our local authorities, our health boards, and significantly the Welsh Government itself to demonstrate how they're taking decisions in a way which meet today's needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. It also sets out 7 national wellbeing goals and 5 ways of working. The minister who took our law through described it as the Common Sense Act because it requires our public bodies to demonstrate how they're thinking and planning and acting for the long term, how they're preventing problems from occurring or getting worse, because for too long we've parked our ambulance at the bottom of a cliff and just waited for people to fall off and fix them when they're broken. It requires us to integrate our thinking across all of our 7 wellbeing goals, so recognising the connection between different issues, collaborate with each other across the public sector, private sector and third sector, and to involve citizens in setting wellbeing goals and involving them in how we deliver them. So I want to share with you the learning that we've taken from that. We are almost 5 years into the legislation. We are making some significant progress, but of course, trying to change the habits of very many lifetimes around short-term policy making, short-term budget cycles and electoral cycles is hugely challenging. So here's what we've learned. So first of all, you must involve people in setting long-term goals. So we held a national conversation with the citizens of Wales, asking them, what's the Wales you want to leave behind to your children and your grandchildren? And they told us they wanted a low-carbon Wales. They wanted a Wales that no matter what your background was, you had the ability to thrive. They wanted communities that were connected. They want us to be using our resources more efficiently. They wanted to focus on us having a thriving culture and vibrant Welsh language. And so the government set out through our legislation 7 long-term national wellbeing goals, and they placed duties on the 44 institutions covered by the Act to demonstrate how they're meeting those goals, legal duties to ensure that organisations act beyond their immediate remit. And what does that mean? It means that we're starting to see the connections. So we've got hospitals in Wales who are working with the National Botanic Gardens to derive sites for nature on their estate, working towards meeting our goal of a more resilient Wales, which focuses on ecological resilience, enhancing and maintaining biodiversity. We've got officers in our environmental agency, Natural Resources Wales, who are working with partners to work out what could their role be in tackling childhood adversities. We've got arts and culture in our hospitals, recognising the softer things actually make a significant difference to people's well-being, to their rehabilitation if they're ill, or actually even keeping them well in the first place. So you have to talk often about these connections. You have to be thinking about doing the things that are going to maximise your contribution to all of the goals. And you have to make well-being your metrics. For too long, we've focused on short-term measures around economic growth. And what has that resulted in? It's resulted in catastrophic damage to our planet. It's resulted in the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. And it's not focused on the things that matter to people, the things that make life worthwhile. So what does that look like in practice in Wales? Well, when the government thought it was a good idea to spend £1.5 billion building a motorway in Wales, a new stretch of motorway, My challenge to them is that a simple application of those wellbeing metrics, of those statutory requirements around our wellbeing goals, would tell you that actually that's a really bad idea. So I asked them to explain to me, how is that a good idea when we have carbon emissions targets to meet and the goal of a prosperous Wales, which focuses on a low carbon society, which uses resources efficiently and proportionately, and which tackles climate change? How can we justify a decision like that when we have a goal to enhance and maintain biodiversity, and the proposal was to take that motorway through a nature reserve? Please explain to me how this accords with our goal of a healthier Wales, where we focus on people's physical and mental health, when actually in Wales we have an obesity crisis. What we don't want to do is to create more space for more people to sit in their cars rather than using public transport, active travel, and avoiding the air pollution created by this road. Please explain to me how this relates to our goal of an equal Wales, when 25% of people in this area, those lowest income people, don't actually even own a car. And so the government changed their minds on the basis of those principles that they had set out in the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act. So we must make those wellbeing metrics the metrics by which we measure all of our choices. We must maximise our contribution to all of the wellbeing goals, and that means we must think holistically. We must think about the art of the possible. So we can meet an aspiration, such as we've got in Wales, to build 20,000 new affordable homes, and we could build those homes with bricks and mortar, and people could live in them. But we could do that differently, and we could do that better. We could make sure that every one of those homes is built to Passive House standards, therefore reducing our carbon emissions and helping us to meet our targets, helping to take people out of fuel poverty. We could make sure that we are using local industries and businesses and having requirements around the upskilling of local people, those furthest from the labour market, to build those new homes. We could make sure that we've linked the plans for those new homes into public transport infrastructure, into thinking about what the new world will look like post-COVID when we're all working from home, and what that will mean to the sorts of homes that we need to build. So we need to think broadly about how we can maximise our contribution to well-being in everything that we do. Now, I know that as a city, you are so keen to be the most sustainable city in Europe. And I want to share with you a story from our capital city in terms of how they're thinking about this using our Wellbeing of Future Generations Act. So in Cardiff, we have some of the same challenges as many cities across the world: high levels of air pollution, congested roads, long commutes, and so on. And so our Act establishes something called Public Services Boards, which is a culmination of all of our key public services in each local authority area, and representatives from the private sector, third sector, and so on. And that Public Service Board came together to work out how collectively they could tackle this problem with congestion, but also to do that in a way which maximised broader benefits, because they have wellbeing objectives linked back to our Act to reduce health inequalities in our area, to make sure that the city has sustainable and resilient infrastructure, to make sure that they are reducing socioeconomic disadvantage. And so what happened? Well, first of all, through this partnership, the public health consultant was seconded to the council to lead on the development of the transportation strategy. And when you apply a public health lens to a transport problem, you start to get a completely different set of solutions. So first off, because our Act permeates everything that a public body does, so it's not just about the services they deliver or the policies they devise, it's about what they do as employers, it's about how they spend their money, how they do risk management, how they think about managing their estates. So thinking about their workforce, they worked out that between them, they were employing 35,000 people across the city, most of whom were travelling in private cars. So focusing on their own workforce first, they started to put in incentives around sustainable travel. They set targets for modal shift amongst their own workforce. They put in bikes for hire outside all of the main public buildings so their staff could use it. They put on shuttle buses between different offices and sites, and we're starting to see a reduction in the way that staff travel through private cars. Taking that public health lens, they also then worked out that actually what we need to do is to disinvest from roads. We actually need to close off some of our roads and encourage and incentivise active travel. They've seen a tenfold investment in active travel, particularly through cycle superhighways connecting different parts of the city. And thinking about that goal around addressing health inequality and socioeconomic disadvantage, they've targeted those cycle superhighways at the areas of Cardiff, the south of the city, where if you live there, you're likely to die 10 years younger than if you live in the north of the city. So targeted at those areas that are areas of high air pollution. There are areas where people have long-term chronic health conditions and would benefit from increased physical activity and a better environment to live. And in building these cycle superhighways, they haven't just done that using concrete. They've worked with our water company to build in sustainable urban drainage as cycle routes. So they are cleaning and greening our communities in our award-winning Greener Grangetown programme. They're taking thousands of tons of water away from our disused and our decrepit sewerage system, so that we can use that we can get rid of that through nature-based solutions. And in the process, they're improving communities. And if you take a cycle route from one of those communities to our city centre, you will be met with the splendour of our medieval castle and a road closed off to traffic, where the council have worked with local creatives to make it a pleasant and brilliant place for businesses to trade. So just through applying that lens, thinking holistically, they're meeting our goals of improving prosperity, of making a more resilient Cardiff, of improving socioeconomic disadvantage and tackling long-term health inequalities, of cleaning and greening and creating space for nature and biodiversity, and working with culture to embed that in the way we deliver public services. So there are opportunities for you to do this. Critically, you must think about doing the things that have benefits to both our future generations and current generations. People often ask me, isn't this, how do you deal with pitching one generation against the next? But that's not it, because there are so many things that we can do which have multiple benefits to both generations, and we should target and prioritise those things first. If we invest in improving the quality of our homes, for example, we can be improving energy efficiency measures. That can be helping to reduce our carbon emissions targets. We can be taking people out of fuel poverty, keeping older people in particular out of hospital during the winter months, so not because they're not living in cold homes. We can be building in local skills and training, and so on. Think about doing those things that have multiple benefits both to current and future generations. I think that there's a massively significant opportunity for small cities, states and regions across Europe to be working together to really lead the charge. And we've seen that across the world. When Donald Trump pulled out of the climate change agreement, it was the states, the mayors who said, no, we are going to keep doing the things that we can do locally, the really important things like transport, like housing, like energy. And we are going to keep doing those things because they are right for our city and for our states. And so small regions, cities, states, I think really hold the key to whether we meet our United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, whether we can genuinely say that we are acting in the interests of future generations. Thank you.